Hi, good evening, and welcome to this week's The Double 15 Minutes with me, Rupa, and my fabulous guest, Bina. Hi, Bina, how are you?
Hi, Nidhi. I'm well. I've been looking forward to this for a while, and so I'm really happy. Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you so much. It's always such a pleasure talking to you and, having you on as a guest. And today we are actually, you're on not as the HR expert, you are actually on today as a best-selling author of a new book. But we'll talk about that in a minute. Firstly, how are you finding things now that we're sort of like getting back into some sort of semblance of normality?
Well, I suppose it is normal to where we were 16, 18 months ago.
Mm.
So, yeah, I've always been busy, obviously, with plain talking HR, with the HR outsourced work.
Mm.
But now I think people are getting a bit more confidence
Yeah.
in meeting face to face. And yeah,
Mm.
it's kind of new opportunities are coming through. So it's good. It's all good.
Amazing. I know, and it's like the more that opens up, the better. But as we were saying earlier, so we're just waiting for a few people to join. So Neha Gloria has joined us, who is kindly sponsoring the show today. Neha said, "Hello, ladies."
Hi, Neha.
And we've got Bali Core has also joined us. We've got a few other people. So this is actually going out live across Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So please post your comments in the comments box. If you've got any questions for Bina as we go through, please feel free to ask the questions and we will do our best to answer them. But going back to the introduction of Bina, so Bina is a entrepreneur. She's a HR consultant. She has her own consultancy called Plain Talking HR. And like I said earlier, she is also now a best-selling author of the book called The Red Thread. So Bina, thank you again so much for joining us. Now we're going to talk about the book, The Red Thread. Firstly, what is the significance behind the name?
It all started, the red thread is the Raki, for me it is, but also in other cultures, it is about those connections between people and the invisible connections once you tie a red thread around them. And, me being a Hindu, as you know, red thread, I'll show you. There you go. And one that goes with the book as well. So here you go. And it is just literally the significance came through the name that we were thinking about for the book. And I was thinking about a common thread with the book has got a number of stories and obviously it goes through generations in my family on my maternal side, mum's side of the family. And so it seemed like the right thing. And it suddenly popped out it was there in front of us and it just seemed the right thing, and always it does, doesn't it? uh, the right thing comes in at the right time. And so yeah, it actually ticked a number of boxes for me,
Mm.
in every way. So yeah, and it seems to have been received very well, as the title. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like you say, it's like the red thread is very, very significant within Hinduism, but also within certain other the Eastern cultures. Because I know even with Japan, they talk about the
Japan,
red
yeah.
thread that connects two souls together. So we've had Monica Vara joining us saying, "Hi, Bina Briggs, loved your book." So
Hi, Monica.
so let's talk about, in terms of the red thread, because you talk about, having read the book, and it's a beautifully written book, very poignant. And I love the interconnectedness of it all because it is a number of different stories, but it's so, because it's a number of stories, like you said, about your maternal family, starting from your mother, the matriarch, all the way through to yourself and your sister. But what was the actual inspiration behind the red thread?
The inspiration was my mother, my mum. She passed away in 2003, so in October 2003.
Mm.
And, for the first few years, it wasn't anything like, oh, I want to write a book. But suddenly, I don't know where it came from. It just kind of suddenly appeared. And it just left me restless, that I just wanted to write my mom's book, my mom's story. And to be honest, she, in a way, she's unique. Don't get me wrong. She was my mother, but she also emulated a lot of the Asian women's story, a lot of women, never mind Asian, just women, the things that they have to go through, and they do quite often. And their stories are left unsaid. So she was the inspiration, and still is.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, no, absolutely. And so what made you, I guess what I'm trying to ask is, when did you know it was the right time to actually put pen to paper and then publish?
Well, I think I have said it right at the beginning of the book that, the book had been kind of swirling in my head for goodness 10 years, but it was always something stopping or something not quite working out. And I was looking for something that would, give that a kickstart, as it were. And I had heard of Mindy Gibbons, but it was just literally, I couldn't get in touch with Mindy, and suddenly it just happened. We met up and we talked, and the book came alive, because again, I've said it so many times in the book that things happen at the right time for the right reasons. And no matter how much you try before, if it's not meant to be, it just won't happen. And so I had accepted that. And the inspiration was really, I wanted to put pen to paper, like for the last 10 years. I had done a lot of interviews with my family and all sorts of people, but it just wasn't going to happen, because whether I wasn't ready, my head wasn't ready, the world wasn't ready for the book. And so it did take a while, but I don't regret it, because it was at the right time. And the way the book has come out and the way it's been received, it possibly wouldn't have been the same, had it been 5 years ago or whatever.
And I completely understand that, because in like you said, the beginning of the book, you've got a chapter, that talks about the blessing, and how that came about. So you just tell us, a little bit more, because you obviously do have like a very spiritual insight, through your life, through upbringing, culture, etc. But tell us a little bit more about the blessing.
I can read you just one little sentence, and I think that might actually give you a little bit more insight into it. And I said, we all have blessings though we may not be aware of them, from all sorts of people. We also want blessings from our gods, our elders, our parents, anyone whom we hold in high regard. To me, a blessing comes from the heart. A prayer is a blessing, as is every time you think good of someone, or tell them to take care, travel safely. I saw a quotation on Facebook that summed up for me what prayers are: a natural feeling of tenderness, love, wishing the person well-being, success, prosperity, and happiness. The ultimate is to receive the blessing from the one you really want it from. Mom died in October 2003. However, spiritually, she's constantly been with me and my sister, and she often makes her presence felt. And that was the blessing. The day I decided I wanted to write the book, but I was just looking for that blessing from her, some sign. And yeah, I got it on that day.
And here we are with the book, because I mean, like, honestly, I've got my copy here, so I say that I have absolutely, I've loved reading it, because it's just given such a fascinating insight into your life, into the resilience. Because there's one passage here, one thing that I really admire about you is the fact that you have a real calmness, compassion, but you have a real determined resilience. And I'm assuming that comes in, you were born with that resilience, but I think your mother probably nurtured that within you, because there's a section here which I absolutely loved, page 76, where an incident of your dress.
Yes.
Hilarious. So can you just Tell us a bit more about that.
I've always been stubborn. I
Mm,
really have. And I think to some degree, although I think people think that I'm quite a soft touch,
mm,
um, but I'm not. And I can be very, very stubborn.
mm,
And I think it just showed. And I think stubbornness can be seen as determination as well. And as you said, resilience.
mm,
It's the force of the character. And this is the incidence when I was, I think, 5 or 6 or something like that. And
mm,
when we were in Kampala, and we used to live probably about half an hour, 45 minutes walk from where my uncle lived, and my uncle's family. And we always used to go there almost every other Sunday or something, like,
mm.
we all did, and family get together and lunch and whatever. And, with Gujaratis, all the food and so on,
Yeah.
the kids playing out in the street, and we used to play
Mm,
all sorts of things in the street. And somehow, I think, I don't know what we were doing, we were playing, and there was this outside tap where all the utensils and things would be washed. And
mm,
basically I slipped. I don't know how, but I slipped, and I was just covered in stuff, and I just got totally wet.
mm,
And my uncle and I was asked to be changed into my cousins, because my cousin was about the same size. No, it's not my stuff. It's not my clothes. I'm not getting into it. And I was totally soaked, and it was like full of gunge.
yeah.
And my father was really strict, and he was quite strong character, but I wouldn't budge, because they were not. I didn't have a dress there, and it was my dress. It wasn't my undies. No,
Mm,
I'm not getting into them. So I walked in that stuff for 45 minutes or whatever it was,
yeah.
to get home.
Mm.
And that was it. And then I had the bucket bath when I got home.
Oh, the good old bucket bath, which we've all grown up with, haven't we? It was just, yeah. Actually, it's very environmentally friendly doing bucket baths.
Oh, it is, yeah.
We'll talk about bucket baths another time. Yeah, here's the thing that sort of like really sort of like, it's you can actually feel it throughout the whole book, is this sense of resilience, but soft resilience. So like hard resilience, but in a soft way, in a more sort of like, I don't know how to explain it, because I think sometimes when people think of resilience or stubbornness, they see it as quite an aggressive trait, but actually you can be soft and gentle and still be resilient. So throughout your book, there are clearly stories along the way, right from the very first page right up until the end, where resilience is key throughout the whole thing. Now, you guys came over, like your mum, you came over as a family in the 70s as refugees from Uganda. Now, that took a lot of courage as well as resilience to actually get, sort of like to work your way through this, especially sort of like our parents' generation who were first generation here, and, dealing with the National Front, dealing with sort of like, not being given houses because of ethnicity, not necessarily being given jobs. So in part, would you say that, say, the obstacles that you guys faced and overcame is also a huge part of the book?
It is, and I think it's part and parcel of our life journey. Or
Mhm.
mom, mine, my sisters, and I think it's also of my elders, and my aunt and my grandmother. She had quite a lot to suffer as well, but I think the resilience comes from the fact that if you've got to do something, you might as well just go and do it, because nobody else is going to do it for you. And I think when you have lived that kind of a life where nothing comes so easily to you,
Mm,
then I think you automatically become resilient, and as you said, you don't need to shout about it. You don't need to, have a big tantrum about it. Or, as I said, you don't need to show your aggressiveness or
mm,
aggression. It is just a matter of fact. This is the fact, If I don't do it, who else will do it? And if I don't stand up for myself or my family's rights or my mother or my sister, we don't have an option.
mm,
Well, we had. The option was to take it from my dad, whatever was kind of dished out to us, or actually do something about it. And I had decided when I think about 12 years old,
Mm.
that, okay, Mum, as soon as I can, finish my studies and we can go,
Mm.
we'll do whatever needs to be done, but we'll get out of this life and we'll choose another life. Whatever it is, it's got to be better than where we are now.
Mm.
And so once you decide that, I think somehow the universe actually also helps you. It
Yeah.
opens up paths. It opens up everything, and I think it starts putting people in your way to make
Mm.
things easier, better for you. So yeah, and for me, well, that was the only choice. Either you do that or you then have to take the consequences. And I wasn't prepared to do that. The stubbornness came in again.
The thing is, in this case, because you're coming over to a completely foreign country, you know, yes, you speak the language because in Uganda and Kenya, it was British education. So yes, you spoke the language, albeit with an accent.
Yeah.
But you're coming into a brand new country, one where there was some really awful negative headlines and press coverage, not so different to what's happening now with
Oh yeah.
refugees that are coming into the UK. I mean, it's sad that even 50 years later, we're still seeing repeated headlines. But at that point, it was like the Asian invasion and, the Ugandans coming over and they're going to take over the world. But take over the UK and it's all going to become brown and it's that mentality. It's just ridiculous.
Hmm.
Anyway, that's a whole different conversation. But the resilience it takes to overcome all of that, to actually be determined to say, actually, you know what, I'm not going to let my skin color dictate how far I go in my life, in my career, because you also did move into, once you finished education, you did move into a job which at that point in the 70s was very unheard of for for a person of color to have got, but let alone a woman. So you did move into a senior position quite quickly, didn't you, when you
Yeah. Yeah. Because I mean, again, I think it's just luck in a way as well, because there's always somebody smiling over you, that's
Mm.
looking after you. That's how I feel, because I kind of got the job within literally about, I think, 4 weeks or something like that of us landing here.
Mm.
I got a job at Luton Airport. Yeah,
Mm.
it was a junior clerk, but it still was a job. And
Mm.
I was, I think, one of the first Asian women or Asians or Asian women there. And then when I moved to the GPO or the telephone exchange, again, doing number please with a headset like this one I've
Yeah.
got on, similar. And again, I was one of the first Asian women to be there. And then when I moved into BT and computing, and that was then mainframe computing, I was, I think, one of the first ones. That there was another lady one there, but we were in the minority. And being computer centers, it was all macho, not that many women there, and definitely not Asian women there. So, and then I rose there fairly quickly. And the same story again at the airport, when there were that not that many Asian women there when I got there, and in senior management positions as well. So, but to me, it's not something about, I don't look at my skin that much, because,
Mm.
yeah, okay, I can see my hands and arms and, my legs, but I can't see my face, I can't.
Mm.
So it really doesn't really bother me in that respect. And I just feel that it is who I am. You take me as who I am.
Mm.
And luckily, I think it just has worked out for me that it
Yeah.
doesn't matter where I've been the first person there of,
Mm.
as a Gujarati, as an Indian, as an Indian woman, and put it all
Mm.
together, a refugee,
Yeah.
whatever you want to say it.
Mm.
But it has been, well, it has been good, and it has been um, not easy. I won't say it's easy, but it's worked out every time.
Mm. Which, but then again, that comes down to resilience. I think it's having that determination and
Oh
resilience.
yeah. Oh dear. You have to be determined, haven't you,
Yeah.
to do anything really. You have to go for it.
I think it's when you've had to overcome obstacles and when
Mhm.
you've had to overcome adversities, you do become, and that isn't exclusive to people of color. That is actually for anybody
Any,
who
if
overcome adversity becomes more resilient. I think if you've lived a charmed life where you've never ever had adversity, I think, even the slightest little mishap can really throw you off. But if you have faced adversity and you've come out the other side smiling, then you know what? That gives you that extra strength. Now, I'm going to take you back a little bit to, the fact you were saying about skin color and culture, but we are going to talk about culture here because, we
Mhm.
were having a little chat before coming online, and
Yeah.
one thing that really stood out in your book, and that was I suppose, the patriarchy that is very rife throughout a lot of the South Asian, diaspora. So, page 149 in your book, there's a section in there where it says, "I have legs."
Yes.
Which, again, it's so beautifully written, but it doesn't take away, I suppose, sort of like the patriarchal restrictions that very many South Asian women have grown up with, whether you're Hindu, Sikh, Muslim, Christian,
Mhm.
Indian, it's what we grow up with, what we're told to be.
Mhm.
So tell us a little bit more about that, because in one section you talk about how there was a standard mode of dressing, what you had, your school uniform, and then what you'd wear at home, and then once you got to a certain age, those
Mhm.
clothes that you wore pre-teens were no longer appropriate.
No.
So tell us a little bit more about that.
I think obviously, as you said, it was restrictions there, and
Mm,
in Uganda, everybody, the girls wore just dresses and so on,
mm,
and it was accepted. But for my father, it didn't really work. So as soon as I became a teenager, then it was a no-no. So I had to wear salwar kameez. So when I got home from school, um, luckily at that time, the salwar kameez wasn't really accepted at school. So when I was in secondary school, I had to wear. The uniform there, but as soon as I got home, I had to change into salwar kameez,
mm,
and so, and to some degree, covering my body, even like even the heat, short
mm,
sleeves or sleeveless wasn't accepted, and all that kind of stuff. So to me, the body was something I was not really very proud of, or I
mm,
felt that I was not good looking, or I didn't have good legs, or good, you just didn't think about it. But I never thought I had legs. I always thought I had
mm.
weird body. And
Yeah.
then a friend of mine, and we were just talking, and a really wonderful friend of mine, and he was just saying that, oh, because he's seen some pictures of me, and we were just kind of sharing some pictures,
Mm,
and he said, oh, you have legs. And because I had a picture of Lamont, and I
mm.
mean, I wear everything here now, and had shorts when I had the legs, really legs. I don't really have legs now, although he says I have, but I don't. But anyway,
I'm
I'm so
sure
glad
you do.
he
I'm sure
thinks so.
you do.
Yeah, he thinks so. Or, even that, the
Mm,
men thing that I have. But it's just the fact that the statement really, it really totally
mm,
threw me. It
mm,
totally, totally threw me because I never thought I had a good body. Number two, somebody saying that, yeah, I had legs before. Way back in God knows 80s and whatever, and
mm.
I thought, oh, okay, really? I never thought like that. I just
Yeah.
wore shorts because everybody did in summer, and
Mm,
so on. And I was of the age that I could. And then now to say, well, actually, you still have legs.
mm,
And I had to ask him twice. And I said, are you sure now? And he said,
mm,
yeah, yeah, of course you have legs. And it wasn't that much of the fact that he said that I've got legs. It was just the fact that my body wasn't ugly.
mm.
I am not ugly. I can show bits of my arms and legs and
Yeah.
whatever part of the body I want to. And that's what it suddenly felt
Mm,
freedom of me being complete, you know?
Yeah, and I understand that, because there is a level of if we look at it, when we're talking about sort of like the South, and again, this isn't just South Asian diaspora, because I know a lot
Yeah,
of sort of like a lot of sort of like the different cultures within Africa, because Africa is a
yeah,
continent, and you've got the different countries in Africa where again the women are treated in a certain way. It's just, I think it just depends on the community and culture, but as we can only talk about the South Asian diaspora because that's our experience, but there is a level of body dysmorphia that arises when you're constantly told to cover up, cover up, cover up. And
yeah.
again, this is a whole other conversation to be had, because it's about sort of like the patriarchal mindset of the girl must cover up. Well, actually, why? Because why don't you tell the people who may have and I'm translating literally, the bad eye. If somebody's got a bad eye, they need to be rehabilitated.
It's double standards, isn't it?
Yeah. And so, we completely understand the dysmorphia. But having said that, though, again, you've written beautifully about it. There's no resentment in what you've written. It's just matter of fact stated that, look, this is what it was. And it took me years to actually come to realize that actually, do you know what? I have got a good body. I've got lovely legs, and I am beautiful as I am. And I think that's such an important message in the book, for people to take away. And then the very last part is page 171, where you talk about happiness.
Yeah.
And can I sort of invite you? Sorry, please forgive me. I sort of keep looking outwards because the Milo,
Oh, Milo is running around.
sort of like looking, sort of like saying, "Can I come in? Can I come in?" But yeah, it's the chapter, like I said, 171. What makes me happy? So, would you be happy? Could you read an excerpt from that,
Yeah,
please?
yeah. Happiness is to everyone a different thing, an absolutely personal feeling. Happiness is an inside job, one over which only we have control. For a long time, I never consciously thought about what makes me happy. People, circumstances, places, traveling, feeling loved, valued, sharing love, friendships, things going well and according to plan, sunsets, sunrises, the moon, flowers, cute children, cats, dogs, animals, pictures of nature.
Mhm.
The list just goes on and on and on.
So, what is the key to happiness, Bina? In the fact that you are, I've never known you to not have a smile on your face. I've never known you to not see or find the positive, even in a seemingly dark situation. What is the key to your happiness?
I think the key is, and it is kind of really a bland and a really blasé statement we see everywhere, and very, I chose to be happy.
Mm.
And I think it is a choice, and I have said that in the book as well, that yeah, I have had dark periods, and it doesn't mean that I don't have dark periods now.
Mm.
But from time to time, everybody does, and it could be something really tiny thing, and suddenly you think, oh, why? But I think in the main, when you actually consciously
Mm.
think that I want to be happy, and why shouldn't I be happy?
Mm.
I am going to be happy. And then your mindset is changed. And as soon as your mind changes, your heart changes. And what happens is you are creating that
Mm.
happiness around you, because it is like the vibes you send out.
Mm.
And because you said it, it all comes through. And things, it's like I've said it in my book as well, that when things are going right, you
Mm.
get a day and something is really wonderful. And it might be something small, but you feel really kind of happy. And then the next thing, and you think, wow, and another one. And suddenly the whole day has become really lovely. And again, as I said, the happiness is personal. So to me, if you told me, oh, Bina, this happened, this happened, this happened, and you say, oh, it was so happy, I felt so happy, and I think, oh, really? Oh, well, I'm happy for you, but okay, and the same goes for anybody. It is a choice, and I think it's the same as when things started going wrong. Have you noticed that, suddenly you might have 2, 3 things go wrong in the same day, and you think, oh God, for heaven's sake, when is this going to stop? But it is the same thing, and I've just literally made my business, in a way, inside me, to say I'm always going to turn it in his head, and I'm just going to be happy. So, and suddenly things have started coming together over the last few years, and you've seen my Instagram. It's always sunsets and moon and kittens, and but they make me happy. And I just look at the moon. Oh, full moon tonight. Oh,
it is, yes.
hopefully we can see it. And sunsets. I love sunsets.
Yeah.
The seaside. It's just thinking, well, this is what life is all about. Those moments of joy, happiness that you just capture and you just keep them in your kind of heart forever.
And that's the most important thing. So Deborah has she sent loads of love hearts, and then she's also said happiness is an inside job. So
Yeah.
Bina, we are actually at the end of the show. This has gone so quickly because I could talk to you for hours and hours, because I just get so much joy out of listening to your wisdom. So Bina, firstly, the red thread, if people want to purchase it, where can they purchase it? And is it available paperback and Kindle, or what are the formats it's available in?
Of course, it is on Amazon as a bestseller. They can do Kindle or the paperback, for sure. But also, if you want to go onto my website, it is called the redthreadbook.co.uk. That's my website for the book. And if you do that, it's £10 only. We've taken it down to £10, so it's easy. And you also get the Raki.
The red thread.
The red thread comes with it, and I also sign it personally. Every single copy that comes through the website is signed and with a personal message. So you have a choice.
And I've got, because this is, I've got this, so it's, I've got a beautiful, beautiful personal message from you in my one as well. So Bina, any last words of inspiration for everybody? Actually, before you give the last words, where can people find you? So we've got the red thread book.com, where if they want to actually make contact with you, they can find you on which social media site?
Well, you can find me on Facebook. You can find me as the Red Thread Book, as the Red Thread. You can find me on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, but also you can find me as Plain Talking HR, or just Google Bina Briggs. I kind of get somewhere. My email address is bina@plaintalkinghr.com, or bina the Red Thread Book.co.uk, or info, I think it is. But yeah, you can find me anywhere. Just look me up on Facebook. The website is there, either the Red Thread Book.co.uk or Plain Talking HR or LinkedIn. You can find me anywhere. I don't hide anywhere, so it'd be easy for you to find me.
You are as transparent a person as they come. Any last words for people that are either watching this live or are going to watch this back later?
The only thing I would say is, if you've got any dreams of anything, just do it. Just do it. And, just find that one little bit of inspiration, one little bit of strength, and just do it, Feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yeah,
and and the world is your oyster, honestly. If I can do it, and if I've done this, never in a million years would I have thought that I'll be writing a book, but here I am, and the book is a success. Well, if I can do that, gosh, everybody can do it,
Oh, absolutely. Bina, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Bina Briggs, author of The Red Thread, available on Amazon as both paperback and Kindle, or you can order directly through Bina's website that she spoke about. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. It's been an absolute pleasure, as always, talking to you.
Thank you for the opportunity, and thank you everyone who's listening and watching and so on. Thank you.
Brilliant. So we will be back on the 4th of October, and I will reveal more about the guest in the next few days. But until then, thank you all for watching. If you're watching this backwards and you want to reach out to either myself or to Bina, please feel free to contact us on our social media handles. You can find me on Instagram, the double 15 minutes, or at Bohemian Buddha. I'm also on TikTok as the double 15 minutes, and you can find us on LinkedIn, crikey, and Twitter. So yeah, feel free to reach out to us, and have a good Monday evening, everybody, and we will see you very soon. Thanks. Bye. Need to end broadcast.